What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Goodol'boys YouTube channel. This video is going to be a follow-up video to the Hawk 250 swing arm bushing replacement video. So a couple main points I wanted to make in this video versus the other video. So I actually found a way that you can use the factory-like bushings, which is a major advantage. And I also have another couple ideas on how to use the polyurethane bushings without modifying your bike at all. And I also wanted to show you guys the Energy Suspension website quickly and show you how to go through the buying process, because it's a little bit complicated, but it's very simple at the same time if you know what you're doing and what to look for. Alrighty, guys, so quick little tutorial here if you're getting your bushings from the energysuspension.com. So pretty simple and easy. You guys probably clicked on the link, but just in case you're typing it in, you just go to Google and search, and then it's going to be this first one here, energy suspension parts. And normally you just type in your vehicle, but you want to go over here in the top, let's see, where these three bars are, top right hand corner, click on that. You want to go to universal parts. Okay, you want to go to bushings at the very top there, and it just goes through some general information, how to measure your bushings. It's even got a tutorial video here, pretty simple and easy. So the way I found my bushings is, what I went off of was just the outer diameter. So you can see here, starting with their smallest bushing, 1 inch or 25.27 millimeters. So what I went off of was this chart right here, and I went with the outer diameter. As you can see here, if you scroll down, what you need for the Hawk is a 1 inch or 25.27 millimeters. So you can type in either of those measurements. I find it easier to deal with the millimeters because the Hawk is a metric bike. So I'll type in 27 millimeter. Okay, and then hit done. And you can see here we come up with one bushing. Now, the inner diameter happens to be 2.91 millimeters, which if you measured your bolt that goes across the swing arm bolt, it measures to be right around 13.4 millimeters. So we can either drill this bushing out or leave it a nice tight fit, which is what I'm going to do. So I think we click on the bushing, you scroll down here, you can choose your color. I went with red. You accept the terms. It is $9.75 per bushing, so a little pricey, but let me tell you, these bushings are well worth it. So you're just going to add it to the cart. And then you're just going to go to checkout, basically, if it'll let me. Okay, and right here is where you can bump your quantity up to 2, because remember, it's $9.75 for each bushing. Now, I already tried to look this part number up on eBay and Amazon. Nothing comes up, so you have to order these bushings from here. So unfortunately, there's no quicker way, but you can see right here where it says it's a special order, and it can take 5 to 8 weeks. So anyways, that's what we're dealing with there. Basically, you just go through the checkout and you're done, and you'll have your bushings in 5 to 8 weeks. So really quickly, I wanted to explain here, why would you want to get the polyurethane bushings and not just some factory bushings? So let me explain. Okay, guys, so the reality is that the bushing that came out of the Hawk is a 25 millimeter outside diameter bushing. The inside diameter is 14 millimeters and the width is 42 millimeters. So the problem is you cannot find a bushing that's the perfect size for the Hawk 250. If you guys can, please link it in the comment section below. The ones that I found that were actually the perfect measurement in the ad were measured wrong by the seller. So really, honestly, that was the biggest reason why I wanted to go with the urethane bushings, is that I couldn't find any other bushing that was kind of like a factory-like bushing that would actually fit the Hawk 250. So another couple reasons why you may want a polyurethane bushing is number one, they ride better. Number two, I'm pretty sure they're going to be a higher quality and longer lasting bushing than the cheap factory bushings that came with the bike. And number three, because the bushing is all rubber, no metal casing on the inside or outside, the bushing is a whole lot easier to install. It's also a whole lot easier to remove when it comes time to replace the bushing for the next time. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you guys the shade tree way to modify these bushings so you don't have to modify your bike. And, of course, like I said, it is the shade tree way to do this. But as far as I've found, there's no other way that you're going to get bushings in your bike other than putting like fuel line in the swing arm or something, which is, a lot shadier than trying to modify a couple bushings. To get to the point here, there's more than one way to skin a cat, for lack of better terms. On China Riders, you guys may or may not have seen that, yes, you can re-engineer the swing arm, you can machine the swing arm, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about using the parts that came with the bike, replacing your bushings for the cheapest, most efficient way possible without breaking the bank and without having to totally modify your bike. So to help explain this, I've went ahead and drawn the Hawk 250 swing arm on the table here, the Hawk 250 swing arm. So you guys can see we have the two arms that come out. This is where the rear shock hooks up. Your rear tire would be in this area. And then this is going to be the swing arm tube where the swing arm bushings go, also where the swing arm bolt connects the swing arm to the frame on the bike. So for those of you guys that are advanced mechanics or are already going to know what I'm talking about, I'm just going to show you guys what to do here to these basic bushings in order to use them for your bike, and also how to modify the red polyurethane bushings so you don't have to modify the bike. For the standard bushings that I found online, you cannot find them in the correct size. This is a 26 by 14 by 42 bushing in millimeters, of course. The problem with these bushings is the outer diameter is too big. Like I mentioned before, you can find a 25 millimeter outer diameter bushing, but the inner diameter is wrong. So these are the bushings that you have to go with. So basically, to use these bushings, you're going to have to cut the bushing across this line. You're just cutting the outer casing here. You're not cutting any of this other stuff. You don't even want to cut the rubber, right? So all you're trying to do is cut this outer casing. What that's going to do is when you press the bushing into the housing here, it's going to go in a lot easier. It's also going to allow this housing to kind of crush or shrink because of the gap that you've cut into the bushing. And so this way you can basically more or less have factory bushings. So the good news is with these factory-like bushings, the only thing you have to do to make them work is cut this slit across here. And when you go to put the bike back together, since it's basically the same exact thing that came out of the bike, all you're going to do is put the bike back together exactly the way it was when you took it apart. It's going to be exactly the same as factory when you go to put this thing back together. So all you have to do is cut the bushing across here like this, and that's it. That's the only modification that you have to do to the bushings, and there is no modification to the bike. I don't have a red bushing, so we're going to pretend this bushing here is a red bushing. This duct tape is representing the flange on the red bushing. So if you guys didn't watch the other video, this is what the red bushings look like. And if you guys want some exact measurements on these bushings, go down to the description box. I actually took a measurement with the caliper of these bushings in the Hawk 250 swing arm bushing replacement video. Again, it'll be linked in the description box below. All right, so you have a couple options to go with here if you're going to use the red polyurethane bushings. So the first option is to go ahead and use the bushing with the flange that comes with from the factory. So if you use the bushing like this, you're going to have to spread the frame on the bike. Not a big deal. I did it and I'm pretty happy with the results. What I mean by spread the frame is actually physically spread the frame with a bottle jack. Now, if you guys want to see this in action, I actually showed it in the swing arm bushing replacement video. So go down to the description box and check it out if you guys would like. Word of advice here, don't stretch the frame too far. When I stretched my frame, I made sure the swing arm fit between the frame of the bike nice and snugly. Now really it's a matter of opinion, but that's what's working out well for me. Alright, the second way you can run these red polyurethane bushings, what you can do is come in here with a grinder and take part of this flange off. So you're just going to grind the flange to about half of its width on the face. And the third way you can run the red polyurethane bushing is to get rid of this flange somehow. So you can either cut it off this ways, which I don't recommend because it shortens your bushing, or you can go ahead and just grind the protruding part of the flange, so that way you have a bushing that's flat all the way across. When you do this, you're going to end up with a bushing that's almost 40 mil, which, if you guys don't know, that's basically the whole width of the stock bushing. So there's a couple things to consider here if you're going to get rid of the flange on the red polyurethane bushing. So with the flange, the polyurethane bushing has something to grab. It's literally stuck between the swing arm and the frame. If you no longer have the flange, your bushing is free to slide all the way in the swing arm. So if you put the swing arm together without the center tube, you're going to have problems. What can happen is over time your bushings can slide, move to one side or the other, or both move to the middle, which is obviously not good. So my recommendation here is if you're going to get rid of the flange on the red bushings, I would highly recommend using this spacer, even though you're not going to have a metal center. Remember, the polyurethane bushings don't have a metal inner or outer casing. And at that point, I would also recommend using the original cup washers, because remember, if you get rid of this flange, you're no longer going to have that polyurethane spacer between the swing arm and the frame. So if your polyurethane bushing is pressed in the swing arm, you're going to need to be using the original cup washers that came with the bike as a buffer between the swing arm and the frame. So let me tell you guys why running the polyurethane bushings without the flange is actually a flawed idea. So again, if we're pretending that this is the red polyurethane bushing, say we've gone ahead and ground off this flange, and now we have about a 40 mil flat all the way across polyurethane bushing. The problem here becomes is when you tighten the axle down, there's no longer this metal to metal contact all the way through the swing arm and the frame of the bike. So now, in the place of these bushings, the original bushings that had a metal center, you just have a polyurethane bushing with nothing to support that clamping force of the swing arm bolt. So one thing you can do to combat this is if you take your red polyurethane bushing, say you've shaved down the flange, right? So that way you get a flat bushing all the way across. What you can do then is go ahead and drill out the center of that bushing. Now remember, we're talking about the red polyurethane bushings. I know I'm holding the factory bushing here, but this bushing is representing the red polyurethane bushing, right? So if you take that red bushing and drill out the center, keep in mind it's rubber. There's no metal in the center of the polyurethane bushings. What you can do is take the old center of your original Hawk 250 bushings and put it in the center of the polyurethane bushings. So now what you're going to have is that metal to metal contact that goes all the way across the swing arm, and you still get to run the polyurethane bushings. The polyurethane bushing could potentially slide off of this new metal centerpiece and onto this center spacer. Now, of course, no matter which way you run the polyurethane bushings, there are definitely flaws and drawbacks. And, you know, we simply can't go into every last detail in this video about that. So what you guys are going to have to do is think this through carefully if you're going to be using the red polyurethane bushings. So unfortunately, there's not enough time to go through every different possible scenario. As far as I can see, there's two fairly good options for bushings here, and unfortunately, there's no perfect straightforward answer to getting bushings for the Hawk 250. So I want to be very clear here. This video is nothing more than a bunch of my ideas that I think would probably work in order to get some bushings back into your Hawk 250. Now, at the end of the day, I haven't tested any of these possible different bushing scenarios except for using the red polyurethane bushing just the way it is. So the big question, which bushing is better? Which bushing should I go with? And to be honest with you guys, I can't really say either way, but if I had to lean towards one bushing, it would probably be the factory bushing, just because I think there's a lot less chance for anything to go wrong if you're going with the factory-like bushing. Now, on the other hand, I've had really good luck using the red polyurethane bushing if you use it exactly the way it comes from the factory. In order to do this, you do have to widen the frame with a bottle jack, but so far with that setup, I've had some pretty good luck. At the end of the day, obviously, it's up to you guys to decide which bushing you want to go with and if you want to go with any of these bushings at all. Again, you could just run fuel line tubing, or you could totally re-engineer the swing arm. So it's totally up to you guys. And the last most important message on this video here is that at the end of the day, we are talking about the Hawk 250 here. I mean, it's a $1,200 Chinese bike, brand new. And I mean, if you guys are running fuel line as swing arm bushings, I mean, who cares? Again, it's a $1,200 Chinese bike. So that's it, guys. Be sure to get down to that description box before the video is over here, because there's going to be no outro on this one, just to keep it that little bit shorter. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Again, check out that description box below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.